Are you ready for more Star Wars adventure? The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, a feature-length audio drama presented by the Dorky Diva Show, debuts January 22nd, 2021. It's available wherever you get your podcasts from and on the Dorky Diva Show's podcast feed. Enjoy the trailer next, and for more information, go to dorkydivapresents.com.
Shout! We've got your pigs.
Were any of the critters harmed?
What did you do now?
I didn't do anything. I just freaked out for no reason.
It was nice doing business with you again. Maybe next time we could deliver something less... temperamental.
Now, what you call temperamental, I call fun.
Hey, is there a place nearby where I can make some repairs?
3 clicks south of here, you'll find a small spaceport. They should have what you need, as long as it's nothing too big.
Dynamic class? My stars, you don't hear about many of those still being space-worthy.
It's been in my family for a while.
She's pretty great. Any chance you have a hover cart we can use to load up?
I'll check out the HoloNet to see if anything new has come up in the sector.
My name is Sereth Khan. I am the chief here on Kamai. My people and I have been experiencing food shortages as of late due to unforeseen natural occurrences. We are looking to hire someone.
I say we take this one. The pay is great, and it's the type of job we're familiar with.
Welcome. You must be Captain Otoa. I've already sent word to Pack 2 to expect you in the next cycle or so.
You told him we were coming before we even accepted the job. That's rather presumptuous, isn't it?
Perhaps, though once I received confirmation that you were interested and on your way here, I couldn't help but hope.
Fair enough. Well, we'll be back as soon as we can.
Well, that's not good.
Is that blaster fire I hear?
So you're the one.
Captain, it sounds like they want to do this the hard way.
I love when they got some fight in them.
This is bad. This is bad.
We're about to have a lot of company.
I'll see you soon.
Hi, this is Savannah.
And this is Brian from the Dorky Diva Show.
And you're listening to Star Wars.
The best place for below-average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below-average Star Wars. This is our first episode since Christmas, and we want to wish everybody who listens to the show a very Merry Christmas, and we also want to make sure that you all have the very best of 2021s in the new year. So Happy New Year to all the listeners. I am the Geordie Jedi Pete, and I am joined by Canon Junkie XL Ian. Ian, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, fantastic. Obviously, it has just been Christmas, and I am starting to resemble sort of a mix between Jabba the Hutt and, as we've seen in that sort of that last credit scene in the last episode of starting to look a bit like Bigfoot Tuna after he's been a glutinous pig.
Yeah, I'm the same, mate. I really need to get back to the gym starting in the new year.
Yep, so obviously we are here to talk about Chapter 13, The Jedi, which is the 5th episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. But before we jump into that, this is our first episode we've recorded since the passing of Jeremy Bulloch. So we do want to dedicate this episode to the memory of Jeremy Bulloch, who was, of course, Boba Fett in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He also was a pilot in Revenge of the Sith, I believe. A pilot on the Tantive 4 in Revenge of the Sith. I think, like, obviously we've seen a big resurgence of Boba Fett, like, certainly in The Mandalorian. And I think, like, you know, if Jeremy doesn't play Boba Fett the way he does in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, like, does he become as popular as he is? Like, who knows? Probably not. So I think, like, we've got to give Jeremy, like, a lot of credit for that. And I think also, like, from what I've seen of Jeremy at fan conventions and with fan interactions, he was always, like, very polite, had a lot of time for his fans. You know, after the prequels came out, he had no problem sort of doing appearances with Daniel Logan, with Temuera Morrison, as, like, the three Fets. and he's just sort of embodied what Star Wars was, which is like a friendly, working together, working with your friends, and being hopeful. So yeah, this episode is dedicated to Jeremy. Rest in peace. If you ever meet Jeremy, any conventions, Ian?
I did, yeah. I met him at York Comic Con. I didn't speak to him long. He was with there was a few people. There was also the girl who played Juno Eclipse in The Force Unleashed. She was there. But yeah, no, I met him. I had a quick chat with him. I didn't have anything to sign at the time because, to be honest, I didn't know he'd be there. But no, yeah, a lovely man. He was really polite, and yeah, it's another sad loss from the original trilogy.
Definitely, obviously, this sort of in the same month as we lost Darth Vader, David Prowse. As you know, our last episode was dedicated to him. So yeah, this episode's dedicated to Jeremy. Rest in peace, mate. And on that, going from that sort of sad note into a sort of a joyous note, we are here to talk about Chapter 3, The Jedi. This is the 5th episode of the 2nd season of The Mandalorian. It's written and directed by executive producer Dave Filoni. This is probably the episode we all pinpointed as being the debut of Ahsoka, because of who wrote it. Let's just talk about the episode. So for me, I think like when it came up, Chapter 13, The Jedi, I was like, oh my God, like, even though we'd already sort of figured out it probably was Ahsoka, it really was like, we're actually going to get it here. We're actually going to get Ahsoka here. Like, it's going to happen. And then from that title screen to the first sequence we see, and then like straight into the action of, we're on the forest planet of Corvus. Ahsoka Tano, who is played by Rosario Dawson, confronts the Imperial Magistrate, Morgan Elsbeth, who's ruler of the city of Caladan. And she sort of takes out all of these guards in the forest, and it's very much like it's like a war movie / with like a samurai movie. Like there's a lot of sort of fog or smoke, and Ahsoka's moving between like the trees and the clouds of dust, and you can't see it. It's almost like she's killing a lot of people very quickly, which did take me off guard a bit at first. But she's showing just how sort of, I don't know what they would be, not merciless, but like to the point she can be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I can see a bit of Batman in this as well, moving through the smoke. It felt a bit Batmanish to me, which I like.
Yeah,
but,
definitely. I mean, she's got a hood up. She's moving between like almost using the dust and the smoke to hide herself, and she only reveals herself. The lightsabers turn off whenever she's not using them, so they can't see the sabers either. And then she turns them on quickly to kill, and then the back turn off, and she's back somewhere else now. These troops haven't got a clue what's going on. They don't know how to deal with it. They're very much like lost. And it's just a kid.
Yeah, it reminded me of the scene in Batman Begins, obviously, where he first becomes Batman. And he's on the docks, and he's moving in and out, and he's freaking the guards out. And then, yeah, it reminded me a bit of that.
No, definitely those type of vibes. Almost like not a horror movie type vibes, but like definitely like a thriller type vibe. Also, there's a shot where like the camera moves as if it's Ahsoka's point of view towards our prey, and like she cuts them down. And it's a bit like, and the prey's like oblivious to what's going on, which again I thought was like cool. But I was like, are we painting Ahsoka here as a killer who's hunting, or what? Obviously later on we do end up going like into the town, and we find out that the town's sort of being ruled by this magistrate who's taken over, and she's like killing the people. She's got some of them captured, and they're being electrocuted to death, almost on like futuristic crosses, like almost being crucified Jesus style, but in a futuristic way.
We've seen them before in Star Wars.
Where was that?
In Rebels, with Hera, when she's being held by Grand Admiral Thrawn, which obviously fits, which is another connection back to obviously later in the episode. But yeah, they're very similar to the things that Hera was held in Rebels when she's captured in season 4.
Is that captured by Governor Price?
Yes.
On Lothal?
Yes.
After we watched that. Now you said that, it does ring a bell in my head. And that's, again, sort of Star Wars' pottery and how it all sort of intercollects. And, like, obviously with Dave Filoni writing and directing this episode, of course you're going to get that.
And it's fitting. It's fitting as well. Obviously, once we find out who Morgan Elsbeth's master is.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, like as you've said there, that connection is that, like, you know, the Thor was sort of under the control of Governor Price, who was working for Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's where his TIE Defender program was based.
Yes.
And obviously, we find out in this episode that Morgan Elsbeth, who's played by Diana Lee, Santo, is sort of a comrade of Grand Admiral Thrawn's, and that's why Ahsoka is here. So yeah, the connections there, like she's using the same technique that the last person we saw working for Grand Admiral Thrawn used. So again, like Star Wars is portraying, it sort of matches very subtly, which is fantastic. So yeah, episode starts off sort of Ahsoka hunting down, killing these guards. She confronts the magistrate. She says, "I'll give you 1 day and I'll come back. I want the information."
Yeah.
She says, "I want your master's location." Obviously, at this point, we don't know who Morgan Elsbeth's manager is. Master is, sorry. And we also see this side of Morgan Elsbeth where she's like, "Oh, like how many lives is enough to make you go away?" And she's sort of threatening to kill the entire village. She says 1, 2, 100. And this is where it sort of brings you back a bit from, we have just seen Ahsoka being merciless.
Yeah.
But then here we see why Ahsoka's being this merciless, because these are the people she's dealing with. So from that, it goes to the next morning. The Mandalorian and child arrive at Caladan, and they sort of land outside the city. And they have a walk into town. After arriving in the town, sort of they try to speak to some locals. The locals like, "We don't want to speak to you. Like, we're going to get wrong if we talk to you." And then straight away 2 guards come up, and they take Mando and the child directly to Morgan Elsbeth, and she offers the Mandalorian a Beskar spear in exchange for killing Ahsoka. What I love about this is that, like, Mando's very quiet when he gets taken here, and she's like, "I need you to kill a Jedi." And obviously Mando's there looking for a Jedi, so straight away he doesn't need to ask any questions, because he put 2 and 2 together. You're going to get 4, and you know that this Jedi is probably who you're here for as well. So it means he's got the information he needed without having to, without sort of outing himself. So if he turned up and mentioned the word Jedi, then they would be like, "Oh, hang on a sec, how do you know about that? Are you going to be on our team?" But because this Morgan Elsbeth made the critical mistake, I think, of letting that out straight away, it's like, my price is high, and I'll take care of that for you. But he knows now, like, get in, I know we're in the right place.
Yeah, before he even takes it, he talks to Michael Biehn, which is awesome.
Yeah, Michael Biehn obviously plays Lieutenant Lang, who is sort of the right-hand man of Morgan Elsbeth.
Is that his name? I didn't know his name in the episode, to be fair. Lieutenant
Lang, I believe. I could be wrong. You know the canon better than me, buddy. But
I didn't know, man.
So yeah, I think it's Lieutenant Lang. And he's got it's hinted that he's got Mando says later on that this guy has a military past. And if you notice that all of Morgan's Elsbeth's men are all masked up. They're either all masked up, or it's the 2 security droids, and there's him, and he doesn't wear a mask. So he's very much sort of like the right-hand man. He's sort of like, if you're Lord of the Rings fan, he's like the Grima to Saruman.
I wonder if the sentence, "Oh, he's had a military pass," is like a cheeky little nod to the Terminator.
Could be, yeah, maybe. Yeah, possibly.
He's had a past in the military.
Yeah. So I don't know whether he could be ex-Imperial as well.
I get the feeling no, but maybe. I don't know, to be fair. Yeah, I get the feeling maybe no. He seems a bit more of a... I'm trying to think of the words. He seems a bit more... I don't know the word, to be fair.
He's very much like a mercenary, isn't he? Especially the conversation as the Mando, like, who's going to win, my side or your side? Is it worth dying for?
Soldier of Fortune.
Yeah, possibly as well.
He has that kind of vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
But the droids with her as well are a nice little nod, because they're a HK droid. Obviously, I think they're HK 87s in this episode, but obviously that is a nod to Knights of the Old Republic with HK 47. So yeah, that's an awesome little detail, which is good for fans of the Knights of the Old Republic. It means they are starting to integrate a few things from there, but they are hunter-killer droids, which obviously HK-47 was the personal droid assassin of Darth Revan in Knights of the Republic.
Yep, and I think that was like a brilliant touch. And if, again, it's not ramming something in to fit it. Like, it just fits. This woman has 2 droids, the HK series, and they're just in the background almost. And obviously, they do get involved later. Obviously, Ahsoka cuts one down, no problem, and then Mando shoots one in the head.
And
I like
with the droids as well. No comment.
No, you comment.
And with the droids as well, obviously I saw it on Twitter, on the side of their heads they have the emblem of the 7th Fleet, which is the fleet that Grand Admiral Thrawn is in charge of. So they've obviously come from Thrawn's fleet, being part of the 7th Fleet.
So it could be what's left of the fleet.
Yeah, I'm guessing, because a YouTube Eckhart's Ladder up, I think the 7th Fleet consists of 25 Star Destroyers, like 10 light cruisers, 4 Gazanti cruisers, and all that. So if they've still got all that firepower, it's still a formidable force that Thrawn might still command. And I'm guessing he still has TIE Defenders. So I'm guessing Thrawn is not out there with just 1 Star Destroyer still.
Yeah, so I mean, like, so for me, I'm not saying these guys are working for Thrawn, because if Thrawn, am I right in thinking only the Chimera got sent into wherever the whales went?
No, there was more. There was more than one. There was like literally the whole 7th Fleet goes.
Right. Okay.
So I'm guessing. Well, yes, they're definitely working for Thrawn, because obviously they. What was I saying? They're definitely working for Thrawn, obviously, because they've got the 7th Fleet emblem, which is all nice connectivity.
So I was just wondering if they were left over. Like, the 7th Fleet doesn't exist anymore, but this woman used to work with Thrawn, so she's got half the tech and half the fleet.
I think the 7th Fleet still exists, 100%.
And it's under Thrawn's command.
Yeah, still, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
because obviously obviously we find out that she is used to like plunder plans for the Imperial Starfleet and that, and that could be like, I think that's why she's working. She's definitely working for Thrawn, because obviously later on, Ahsoka asks, "Where's your master? Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" So I'm guessing the 7th Fleet's still about. I'm guessing he's building up his military force again for who knows what. Are we heading for like a canon version of Heir to the Empire, which would be sick? But yeah, 100% they're working for Thrawn here, and I don't see why Ahsoka would be looking for him if she didn't think that these people were working for him.
Well, so I think Ahsoka's looking for Ezra, and obviously Ezra was last seen with Thrawn. So is she trying to hunt? Is she hunting for the information to find Thrawn so that she can find Ezra, which is what she was last doing when we seen the end of Rebels?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Obviously, Ezra's still with Thrawn. I'm guessing if he hasn't returned from wherever they went, but. No, I 100% believe that Thrawn is back at this point, and he's building up his military force for something.
And he's a big threat.
Yeah. Obviously, we can get into this later, but obviously all these shows interconnect towards one climactic event, and I think that could be the big bad being Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah. So before we move on, and like as soon as she pulled out that Beskar spear, and it was like, it's pure Beskar, I was like, right, this is a set piece for Mando to take on Moff Gideon later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah. I definitely thought that, yeah. I thought, and obviously, we'll get into it in a bit. Obviously, we see what Beskar can do up against a lightsaber very soon in this episode.
Yeah, so Mando sets off to find Ahsoka. He finds her in the forest, and she sort of attacks him. Mando manages to defend himself with his gauntlets. He grabs her with the grappling hook. She does a Jedi jump across the trees. He pulls his blaster, but he's got his other hand up, and he's like, Ahsoka Tano, I've been sent to speak to you by Bo-Katan. And that's when Ahsoka's like, oh, I hope it's about him, and looks at the child.
Just sat there on a rock, looking adorable.
Yeah. For me, I've got a feeling that, like, I think the child's reached out to her there.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Definitely, yeah.
I think Mando's seen, like, I think the child's seen, oh, this Jedi is just, he's just swiping here at my dad. I don't want him to kill him. Oh, no, I'll reach out so she knows I'm here and it'll stop her in her tracks. Because I think it's a combination of both him saying Bo-Katan and her sensing the child is why she stops in her tracks. So I think it's a combination of both. And then she mentions the child straight away. So I think Grogu's reached out as if to say, no, like, we're not here for this. We're here because we're friends, type of thing. And she sort of powers down straight away.
Yeah.
We get some really cool scenes here, sort of in the next few, sort of in the night, in the morning. Ahsoka reveals the child's name is Grogu. That he was raised and trained in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. That he had many masters, which is what the younglings do, have many masters. And after the fall of the Republic, Grogu was evacuated from the Jedi Temple and has been suppressing his powers over the years to survive.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we found out a Jedi rescued him from the temple. We don't know who that Jedi is.
I mean, we hope it's a Jedi, but I wonder who it actually was.
I do think in the episode she says a Jedi took him from the temple.
Jedi took him from the temple.
Yeah.
Cool. So for me, it's like, because did this Jedi take him straight where we find him in season 1, episode 1? Because he's sort of being protected by mercenaries, isn't he?
We never got an answer about that, really, what those mercenaries were doing with him, because they obviously don't look like they were abusing him or anything.
They don't know, but it also looks like they don't have a clue about what he is, because he's just he's kept in his basket.
Yeah.
Like, hidden in there, where he's just, like, almost suppressing his own memories as well as his powers.
Yeah. Poor little guy, he's had a tough life.
He has, yeah. So for me, it was cool to get mentioned in the Clone Wars. It was cool to get mentioned in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. I like how we know that he had been trained in the power ways of the Force a little bit, and that they've hid him somewhere.
Yeah.
My first thought jumped to when she mentioned that he escaped the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. It turned to Castanew.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Just because, I mean, so not my final thought, but that was my first thought because of how good she's written in the Darth Vader comic, of sort of escaping the temple and having all the information and trying to rebuild the order from where she was and then going back finally. I thought that was pretty cool. That was my first thought, but it could have been anyone really. I mean, what's that Jedi Master called? The old one with the walking stick who just trains the younglings?
Terra Sanuba.
Could be him.
Yeah. I had a wild theory that it's Mace Windu, but I'll never stop wanting Mace Windu to come back.
I mean, like, for me, I think, like, if Mace comes back now, Mace Windu's not a good guy.
No, I don't mean he comes back now in the current Mandalorian timeline. I mean, he rescued him from the temple.
Yeah.
And then, I had this whole theory that he rescued from the temple and then Boba Fett gets wind of that Windu survived and then he hunts Windu down and that type of thing. That'd be like a cool story, but that's just a crazy fan theory in my head. I
mean, someone must have took him somewhere, so...
Yeah.
Do you reckon we'll get that story?
I would guess so, eventually, yeah. If it's going to be I'm guessing it'll be a Jedi we know. I'm guessing it won't be just like a random Jedi. I'm guessing it'll be maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda took him, maybe. Not quite sure. But that'd be pretty cool.
So after we get those vital tidbits of information from Ahsoka, we also see Ahsoka mention that Child's afraid, that he's got fear in him. And then the next morning they do a little challenge, like Jedi training, moving rocks.
Yeah.
As it seems to be the test that all Jedi Masters do with the students. Yeah. Can you lift these rocks? Which I thought was funny. I laughed a bit, and also pays homage to sort of what's come before with Yoda and Luke, and then with Luke and Rey, and then with Rey lifting the rocks. Like she says at the end of Last Jedi, when she goes lifting rocks, and she saves the Resistance. So sort of nice little subtle paying homage. Star Wars' poetry connection to that. Obviously, he doesn't want the rock. And as soon as he didn't want the rock, I was like, Mando's going to pull the silver ball out here, and he's going to want the silver ball. Because it had been addressed in the opening scene as well, like of Mando, like Yoda Grogu wanting the silver ball.
Yeah, definitely.
So Mando pulls the silver ball out, and then the child's like, "Yep, I'll have that," and takes it. So Ahsoka sees that. But Ahsoka refuses to train him. She sort of doesn't like I mean, this is where Ahsoka like, I don't know, winds me up a bit here because she's like, oh, like due to his attachment to the Mandalorian and the fear and anger inside him, the consequences of his training could see him like turn bad. And she doesn't mention Anakin by name,
Anakin.
but she mentions what it did to Anakin. It's just like, well, like if you'd been there for Anakin, like it might not happen.
I don't think that. To be fair, I think he still would have turned.
But so I think like just because it happened to him doesn't mean like
yeah.
You can't like. I mean, if you leave this child now, Grogu, then he might go and cause problems like down the line if he doesn't have training at all. Then do you know what I mean? He could become ferocious and just attack anything.
To be fair to her, though, she had just dueled her old master in a Sith temple, and found out her master had become one of the most evil people in the world, in the galaxy. And Alfie, sorry mate, the dog's playing with a squeaky right near me. Yeah, she just found out all that. Obviously, hard to process that your master became a monster and that type of thing. Alfie, stop it. But yeah, I can see why it would probably sully her on training people. Oh, Alfie. Sorry,
I just think
mate.
Sorry, I just think she's very quick to like judge the Jedi on focusing on the old ways, but then here she's right back following that old ways or attachment. No, can't have that. Like, so I think like for me it was a little bit of criticism. Like, goes to show that she's grown a bit older, but she's also grown a bit not in a good way. Almost like she's fallen for that trap.
Yeah.
That the Jedi Order went down before Order 66 and in the Clone Wars. The path that she left because she didn't want to be a part of. Now she's actually going down that path a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she's obviously changed from the character we saw in Clone Wars, and that obviously she's obviously changed from that character to a more stoic character now. Obviously, she's been through quite a lot. Obviously, dueling Vader on Malachor, dying, and then coming out between the world between worlds, and then going back, and then we don't know what happened to her on Malachor after that and what she's been doing. So there's a story definitely to be told, which I think we'll get some of it in the Ahsoka series that's coming out.
Yeah. The Mandalorian proposes that in exchange for helping Ahsoka confront Morgan Elsbeth, that Ahsoka could train Grogu. And Ahsoka goes along with this. Which again, I think, like as we see, I think this is again, it goes to show that just not this all good character that we had in Clone Wars and Rebels. Because, as you know, she goes back on her promise here as well. So, Ahsoka Mandalorian storm the city, kill all the guards and free the citizens. I thought it was quite cool. I like the split up, how she rocks up with the shoulder piece of Mandalorian's armor that has the signet on.
Yeah.
The Mudhorn signet on his shoulder.
To make him think that
medallion. Yep. And then, obviously, Thor starts shooting at her. She runs and hides, and then manages to hunt them. She starts hunting them again, very Batman-esque, as you said. Sort of there, going around the street corners, trying to hunt them down. And she sort of jumping out from rooftops and taking them out, then hiding again.
Yeah,
which I thought was really good. She takes down them HK series droids really well as well.
Yeah, it's the lightsaber combat. This is pretty sweet, like.
Definitely, I think the lightsabers look good as well. Look really good.
Oh yeah, the white lightsabers look amazing. Yeah, obviously in the Mandalorian gallery they were heavily worked on because Dave Filoni's like, no, they need to look a certain way. Which obviously Dave taking great care with a character he's shepherded from beginning till now. So how do you have to line up?
Definitely. And then I like how like Mando turns up, and then Ahsoka manages, she jumps over the wall to face Morgan one-on-one. And then Mando is very much there. He kills one of the HK series droids with a shot to the head. And him and Lieutenant Lang have a sort of a face-off, very Western-like, and this is where, obviously, Lieutenant Lang sees Ahsoka over the wall.
Yeah.
And you can hear, and they're facing each other, and you can hear the battle ensuing on the other side. And Lieutenant Lang's very much like, your side might win, or mine might. And he's very much like, maybe we should just like both put our blasters down and just live to see another day. which Mando's like, okay, sort of agrees. But Lang's a trick by Lang, and he goes to pull a blaster from his back. But Mando's too quick on the draw and shoots him. Which again, I enjoyed this sign of like mercenaries and heroes for hire, and like working for money and no honor. But it's almost like a ruse from him because, like I said, he does actually go to pull his blaster to kill the Mandalorian.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he definitely tries to trick him into like surrendering. Mando, I think that shows growth with Mando as well. Because I think there's a time where he might have believed him, but I think he's definitely not stupid enough to fall for that. So he blasts him away.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then also like from that point, we obviously have Ahsoka defeats Morgan Elsbeth in this battle of lightsabers versus Beskar Pike.
I like how one side of the wall there's a Western and on the other side of the wall there's a samurai film going on as well.
Definitely, this whole episode sums up. It sort of has very Akira Kurosawa vibes. Then obviously also has the Western vibes, as we've discussed. So like it is very much a sort of a cross between both, which obviously two things that really did heavily influence George Lucas
and Dave Filoni.
Yeah, so like I think like definitely. So we have essentially a conversation that's taking place. I like on this duo how like Morgan Elsbeth manages to disarm Ahsoka. One of our lightsabers.
Yeah, it shocked me a bit. So obviously she's not a weak character by any means. And there was a bit online about her. Apparently, she's one of the last survivors of Dathomir. Apparently, according to the person who does all the hair on the show, apparently that's what the character got described as like a last survivor of the planet of Dathomir, which is pretty cool. I don't think she's a Night Sister though, because there's other clans on Dathomir. It's not just Night Sisters. So I wonder if she's
right.
I wonder if that's true. Like, but that was just a thing I saw online.
I wonder, because I mean, the only background we get in this episode is that she was a planet was destroyed in the Clone Wars, so it could be Dathomir. Is the planet named?
No, it just says people were slaughtered in the Clone Wars, which they were on Dathomir.
Right. Yeah, and then obviously she formed a company that built ships for the Empire. And obviously this planet here is very much like war torn, and it looks like it's been mined. Almost reminded me of Fanghorn Forest after Saruman starts chopping it down to fund the Mordor war machine.
It reminded me of Lothal as well, obviously in Rebels.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I mean, I thought Ahsoka let her disarm her. Because the lightsaber goes in the pond. I think she could use the Force to pull it back out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And she just doesn't. She just switches guard up and then takes her out anyway. Obviously, we don't see what happens to Morgan Elsbeth. Obviously, Ahsoka wins the battle. This is when Ahsoka has the name drop. She says, "Give me the location of your master, Grand Admiral's throne." And then, obviously, we sort of don't really see what happens. Obviously, I'm assuming that she gives Ahsoka the information because Ahsoka's very happy after this in the final moments. But does Ahsoka kill Morgan Elsbeth after she gives her the information?
No, I don't think so.
In which case, like again, she's killed an unarmed woman here. She does do that, and she's killed a lot of people in this episode.
I don't think she would have, to be fair. I think, if anything, she would have given her over to the villagers and they could do what they want with her.
Yeah. Sort of following Caladan's liberation, the Mandalorian prepares to leave Grogu with Ahsoka. But again, Ahsoka refuses to trade him, so she goes back on her promise here. Again, not very Jedi-like, in my opinion. A bit like you sort of, you've hinted that you would help him. Without Mando, you wouldn't be able to take the city back. And then now you're sort of pushing it off on somebody else. And, she does sort of mention that she's got other things that she's trying to do at the minute. Which obviously she is trying to do, but it's like you should have told them that.
Yeah.
And she sort of tells Mando that if he takes the child to the planet Tython, where a Jedi temple is, if you go to the highest mountain, there is a Saiyan seat. again, very Lord of the Rings like. We've described a lot of sort of Lord of the Rings similarities here. The seeing seat. Grogu can sit on the seeing seat and he can call out with the Force, and a Jedi might answer. And then sort of she goes back to the town, and Mando and Grogu depart for Tython. How did you feel about the Tython?
Yeah, I liked it. Obviously, it's a big planet in Star Wars Legends. It's in the deep core in Star Wars Legends, very hard to get to. I don't know if that's the same in canon now, obviously, with what we see in the next episodes. I thought it was a cool name drop, though. Obviously, it's good to. I like when they just didn't connect things. They could have said a random planet or the such and such. Could Typhon it's not like as egregious to take people out of it, like who don't know what they're on about. But like for Star Wars nerds, it's like, oh wow, Tython. But yeah, no, I enjoyed the name drop. I thought, yeah, it makes sense. They're looking for an ancient Jedi temple. Typhon's one of the oldest planets of the Jedi Order, so it makes sense for me.
And have we seen Tython in the new?
We have. Yet? We saw it in the Dr. Aphra comics, and it was snowy in Iceville. But apparently, I've been on Wikipedia since, and apparently, it has different climates on Tython, which is convenient.
Right.
But yeah, we have seen it in the canon. It's in one of the Dr. Aphra comics.
Cool. So this got me excited about going to another Jedi temple. I was hoping to see a lot more detailed Jedi temple. Obviously, we'll talk about Chapter 14, the tragedy, in the next episode. Obviously, you don't really see the Jedi temple much.
No.
In that episode, the name drop of it, and she's saying it was a Jedi temple. This got my sort of brain juices flowing to being like, oh my god, yes, we're going to see some more Jedi lore here, which I thought would be fantastic. I love the name drop of Tython. The way she said Grand Admiral Throne, for me, I think like the Empire's gone, just call him Throne. Like it was a bit like banging 3 syllables over your head a little bit with the name drop, but I sort of do get it, I suppose. But
is the Empire gone though? It's technically not gone, because it's in the unknown regions. Technically. But yeah.
But they're not the Empire, or they're now. Do you know what I mean? They're not like...
They're still Imperial Remnant, and they're still... Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like the Rebellion's not the Rebellion. The Rebellion's become the New Republic. So therefore, this Empire is no longer the Empire. That has become the Rebellion against this New Republic.
Well, yeah, I see what you mean, mate. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of infighting going on within the Imperial Remnant, and I think if you have a rank, then you keep it, don't you? Just to try and get some controls. I think Giancarlo Esposito said in an interview, like, he obviously knows all this information, and he says, is there someone pulling the strings above him? Which I think there is. Obviously there is, because when in Chapter 13, The Heiress, they mention a fleet, and obviously we see Giancarlo Esposito, Moff Gideon with just a light cruiser. So there's a fleet out there somewhere. Is it the 7th Fleet? Is the person pulling the strings Thrawn? I think so, yeah.
So is this to do with the Emperor's contingency, or is this Thrawn's own plan?
I don't see him being that interested in fighting with the Empire now. He probably knows. He's very much about protecting his own people, the Chiss. And I just think he'd see, like, returning to the known galaxy to fight with the Imperial Remnant, I think he'd just see it as a lost cause and he wouldn't bother. So whether he's back with the Chiss, helping the Chiss with something, or whether he's planning on making a run back at the New Republic like he does in the Heir to the Empire books, I'm not quite sure, but I definitely think that he's the overarching villain that's going to be the link between all these shows they've announced.
Yeah. So for me, like, my question is that, like, obviously you have, like, Emperor's contingency plan was to build the First Order. So this doesn't seem like any of it's connected to that.
I think Gideon,
Gideon. So if they're not connected, like, surely there's some cues, like, we know, like, we need to be doing what the Emperor said, not what Thrawn's saying, like, So like, how does that work? Do you think? Then, like,
I think at this point, I think the legend of Grand Admiral Thrawn is pretty thing, and I think a lot of people probably, if the Emperor's dead, or the Emperor's apparently dead, And I think like if they can all reunite under Grand Admiral Thrawn, who's obviously known throughout the Empire, I think they'll just follow Thrawn.
Except for the people who got the
obviously the
Sentinel
ones who
droids
fled to the
in the
unknown
atmosphere.
regions are a different story. But obviously the Chiss ascendancies in the unknown regions, I don't know what Thrawn has to do with the First Order. It's all stuff I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah. So what were some of your favourite parts of this
Ahsoka,
episode?
I thought Rosario Dawson nailed it. I thought she was great. I thought she looked great. I saw online there was some stuff about her head tails not being as long as they were in Rebels, but in the daylight, I think she had a very physical role, and I think obviously that was the length the head tails needed to be for live action because.
Yeah, I think for me it's just design choice. Like it's designed a certain way for different mediums. So, like yes, they're all long gun Rebels, but that doesn't mean they're that long. It's just like that's the design. That's the animated style of that show. It works well in that show. I think the length of these in this show works well. I saw comments about the sort of the creases, the wrinkles in the Legos. To me, like they're very prominent. So I saw them as like
I don't think
choice.
they just did it. Yeah,
maybe So I think it's a show Ahsoka's age. Like she's getting wrinkles there now. She's getting an older woman.
Yeah,
she's not old, but do you know what I mean? But like the sort of the rigors of her life are starting to show a little bit as well. How I took it.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, Ahsoka was great. I enjoyed the whole episode. To be fair, I wouldn't say there's a few moments I enjoyed more than most. I think it was really well done. I love the name drop, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Like if you told me, I think the one thing the Mandalorian's done, which is great, it's made Disney realise the pennies kind of drop where you don't have to ignore the animated series, you don't have to ignore the books. You can bring these characters in, and yes, the average person who watches Star Wars doesn't know who Grand Admiral Thrawn is, but if you bring him in and make him a compelling villain, then you serve both sides. You serve the casuals who just want a great villain, but then you also serve the diehard Star Wars fans who know who Thrawn is, who will freak out at the name. Like I remember the celebration reveal when he came into Rebels in the trailer, and the room lost their mind. But I just think it's made the penny drop. Like people like Cobb Vanth, you don't have to invent a character. You can tell the story of Cobb Vanth, because there was a time before where I truly believe where Boba Fett would have just turned up with his armor, and it was like, okay, like the books don't matter. So I do think that's the one good thing. Like one of the best things the Mandalorian's done, it's made them realise, look, we've got these characters in these other mediums that can be brought in to live action seamlessly, and it fits, and it doesn't feel off, and like casual fans, and then it makes more casual fans think, oh, I really like that character. I like the character of Bo-Katan. Where can I see more of her? Well, you can see her in Clone Wars, you can see her in Rebels, and then it just increases instead of just creating new characters that don't connect and you can't see them anywhere else. So I just think that's one of the best things the Mandalorian's done.
Yeah, I think for me it goes on with the filmmakers. Like I honestly feel that like for Rise of Skywalker, I think like obviously a lot of time and material's done for it, and I think that obviously Chris Terrio and JJ for whatever reason decided to not speak the story group, and that was their choice, and they were allowed to do that. I think obviously because Dave Filoni is he's not part of the story group, but like he's got a huge relationship with all the guys in that story group. Do you know what I mean? He's got a huge relationship with Matt Martin. He's got a huge relationship with Pablo Hidalgo. So does the likes of I don't know if Kiri Hart actually produces.
I'm not sure.
Kiri Hart. I know she's leaving the company. But yeah, like the producers on this show like have like Doug Chang, like who's like head of the design. Like he's very much like been with the company a long time. He knows all the story group. So for me, I think like the working with the story group very much like sort of Rogue One did, where it was like, oh, we need this father figure for Jyn Erso, who's a terrorist. Oh well, guess what? We've got him. He's called Saw Gerrera. And it fits perfectly. So I think like very much so that like because of who's involved with the project, like I think if this project didn't have Dave Filoni, I
think Jon Favreau's a massive Star Wars nerd as well. Obviously, I don't think he knew who Cobb Vanth was, but they'd be like, "Oh, we want to bring Boba Fett in." We're like, "Well, actually, there's a character who has his armor post Return of the Jedi, and like, but then if he learns more about the character and he finds out he likes the character, then it's easy to bring him in. And that's what I mean. Like, it just felt this season did one thing for me like I haven't felt in ages. Like, I felt rewarded for reading the Aftermath trilogy for Cobb Vanth. I felt rewarded for watching Clone Wars with Bo-Katan. I felt and Ahsoka and all that type of thing, and all the little rebels with Thrawn and all that type of thing. Like, I felt rewarded for actually like reading the books. You know me, I read all the books, I read all the comics, and I watch all the animated shows and all that type of thing. And it was nice to, like I said, and it fit as well. It didn't take, like, if I had never seen Rebels, never seen Clone Wars, never read a Star Wars book, it wouldn't have took me out of it and gone, right, who are these people? Like, it fit naturally to the story. So, yeah, that's one of the best things I think this season's done. So, like, is just make them realise that, yeah, you can bring these characters in. And like I said, people will care because they're good characters. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, definitely agree. I think like the show's done so well at that. I think Ludwig did a great job with the score for this episode. Obviously, you know, it does borrow like Yoda's theme for The Empire Strikes Back slightly with Grogu. And also, as well as Ahsoka's theme from the very beginning when Ahsoka turns up in front of the magistrate.
Yeah.
There's like a sort of scene there, and then we get it later on as well. So it goes to show that, you know, he's not only is he creating his own sort of sound design with sort of the themes, but he's also, when we're getting these older characters, he's interweaving.
He's amazing. Like, he's
brilliantly
created
as well.
Some of the best Star Wars music of all time, which is a hard thing to do. Obviously, John Williams stuff is flawless, but like his Boba Fett theme is one of my favorite bits of Star Wars music ever. And like, his work's been absolutely flawless on The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I hope he does more. Whether he just do Mandalorian and then they give other people a chance. But yeah, I can't speak highly enough of Ludwig. I listen to the Mandalorian soundtrack on Spotify pretty much every day. I use the Boba Fett theme to get pumped up at the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. You've got to have your...
Yeah.
Makes you go that extra mile, doesn't it, when you're in there? No, definitely. I think for me, like, I loved the whole episode. I loved how this Ahsoka was a bit different. Obviously, a lot of time has passed since we last seen her. So, like, you know, I mentioned it before, like, how she was sort of killing those guards at the start, like, quite mercilessly, and, like, in almost as, like, a hunter-killer assassin was how fast she was moving, taking care of business very quickly. But obviously, like, not so much in a bad way, but just in, like, a different way. We haven't seen her really be that cutthroat before. Which was like fantastic. So I did enjoy that. I thought Rosario was good. Enjoyed the performance. I thought the lines that were written were very much like Ahsoka type lines. I think there's one where she says she likes firsts because good or bad they're always memorable. I thought that was an Ahsoka line.
I love
the
bit as well
you were
where
expecting any other.
Force pulls one guard's rifle into the other, and he like looks at her and she does like this slight nod of the head. That's very Ahsoka to me as well.
Yeah. I think one thing that I did question about this episode was like Ahsoka like hits back a lot of deflects a lot of blasters here in this episode, but like none of them fire back and hit anyone.
Oh, maybe yeah.
So I wonder if they've forgotten that like that the Jedi would fire them back to kill the droids like in the Clone Wars. It just seems like, I mean, it's cool because we're getting more like saber slashes to kill people, which is fun. But like
maybe your aim was off that day.
I don't know. I feel like
yeah.
Well, no, I think it's obviously like a design choice because like I remember in when Rey's shooting blast at Kylo Ren, he's like deflecting them and like did they go anywhere? Like in that's in the sequel trilogy. It's like
it's a bit odd for you.
It's just, I don't know. It just seemed a bit like a bit odd with like the Clone Wars. That's how they fought, and then obviously Ahsoka learned to fight in the Clone Wars. So it was a bit like, all right, just me. I noticed like none of them like being fired back at anyone. But I didn't mind that because like I said, we got to see lots of people getting sliced down, so that was fun. So I don't mind that, but it did catch me eye. Like, all right, I noticed that like she's not going that way; she's going like this way with the way she's combating. So whether it was a combat decision by the character or whether it was like maybe something that the design team just thought, no, we're just going to have people getting sliced up instead of
maybe
shot. Perhaps.
Maybe just a choice. Like maybe she just fancied slashing them up instead.
Yeah, definitely. I think sort of, as I enjoyed the whole episode. The soundtrack was fantastic. I loved the pacing of the episode was fantastic. It seemed almost to take its time to tell you the small details it give you.
No,
but
yeah,
also didn't feel
I think
too
it's about
long.
45 minutes episode, but it felt really quick, but in a good way. But not in a not like it's long. Yeah, it's a hard way to explain it. It's like long but quick in a good way. Yeah.
So there's times when Ahsoka's describing things, and like it probably takes its time and it settles you in, and you listen to every word as if you were listening to a bedtime story. And then you get the action scene where it speeds up, and like all of it's like your attention's on everything that's there when it needs to be. But then when it finishes, like I said, it's sort of 45 minutes, but it feels almost like you need the next bit straight away.
Yeah,
because you're not full. If that makes sense. So yeah, like I said, enjoyed it. I think like, one last thing for me is that like obviously a lot of thing about like the Ashley Eckstein, the Rosario Dawson thing. Like, I'm not going to get into that because at the end of the day, it's just it's the filmmakers obviously decided who they wanted and they went and hired who they wanted. But for me, I do feel that like they should have put a call in to say, we're doing this, you're not involved, sorry, but we're just giving you a heads up. Like we've gone this way. Like I think like that. I think she deserved that for what she's done for Star Wars fandom in the last decade. And that obviously hasn't happened. And I think like that's a bit disappointing. When I mean, are they going to use the excuse that they did it so it wouldn't leak? Because guess what, it did leak that hour. So like, and I don't think Ashley would have leaked it. So like, I don't know. For me, it put a bit of a bad taste in my mouth when you see like, especially in the documentaries of Clone Wars and Rebels, and like how the cast and Dave and the crew are all like best buds, and like, and that's why the show's so good. And then they couldn't even put a call in here. I really feel that as a company, Lucasfilm should have put a call in to Ashley just to say, character's coming back. You're not involved. We appreciate everything you've done. Going forward, if there's any more animated stuff, you're the Ahsoka type of thing. And it would have just stopped all this sort of questioning that like went on. And I think like that's something Lucasfilm need to figure out, sort of how to deal with stuff like that. Because I think the way they handled all the leaks and stuff wasn't good.
Just waiting for the connection to come back.
Sort of just ignoring it.
Are we good? Yeah. It did that thing where it.
You're back on now.
Drags out a bit. But yeah, no. Last thing you were saying about Ashley, yeah, it would be nice if she had known. But I'm guessing her and Dave are still quite close and all that. I'm guessing she'll play the character again in animation. So, yeah. And on the side of the casting, I think it's just what it is. Like some people are animation voice actors, and some people are live action actors, and that's just how it is at the end of the day. But yeah, I agree with you. I think she could have been.
Well, I mean, it's not even the case of how it is. At the end of the day, Ashley never even got an audition. She never got asked. She never got taught about the project. You know what I mean? So for me, that tells me that Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, and Jon Favreau knew who they wanted for this role from the off. And that's where the book stops with. And I've seen people like trying to blame Disney and stuff and say, well, no, like at the end of the day, yes, they would have had a say in it, but like the fact that she never even got to audition the part, I think like it's very clear that like Dave John wanted Rosario Dawson for the role, and that's who they got, and that's their decision to make, and that's fine. And like I said, I'm not saying it's a good or bad decision. Like I said, I enjoyed the betrayal, but but for me, I think like you've got to put a call in just to say, this is what we're doing. You're not needed. We're sorry. Obviously, going forward, if like you're still part of the family. If we can do more animation and stuff, you'll be coming to do that. Because it was that thing where like Ashley had that Q&A plan that weekend when the whole news all dropped, and just got bombarded with all comments about like, oh, like what's happening here? And obviously, she didn't have a clue. Do you know what I mean? And she had to release a statement and stuff. And it's like, well, they haven't protected her best interest there, and I think the company needs to do better by people who have. Ashley's done a lot for this fandom and for the Star Wars brand in the last decade.
Yeah.
So I think like you need to protect those people. And it's one of those things where, like, I love Dave Filoni's my biggest fan, but I think, like, I have lost a little bit of, like, just put that call in, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? You need to put that call in. But to go back on a bit more of a positive thing, I think, like I said, I thought, like, Rosario was Ahsoka for me. Like I said, the way she moved, I loved the way she moved in the battle sequences. Looked fantastic. It was very much reminiscent of Ahsoka in the Clone Wars Season 7. Very sort of quick turns and sort of no movement wasted. It's fantastic. Like I said, I love the way she looked. Face paint was brilliant. The Lekkus, although shorter than Rebels, I thought fit the design of this Ahsoka brilliantly. The wrinkles that were there, I thought again showed a bit of age, a bit of maturity to Ahsoka. Definitely a design thing rather than these have got crease because we've worn them too much, which I think is what some people are trying to say. Which it could be. I'm not saying those people are wrong, but in my opinion, I think they're there to add a bit of maturity and age to Ahsoka. I say, look, I think this is sort of where this person's been. I loved Magistrate's character. I thought she was very stern, she was very one-dimensional, but in a good way. Like, I am the baddie. I am Thrawn's right-hand woman. I'm not going to tell you where he is. You go away, type of thing. I'm going to kill these people if you come back. There was no like sub story of, although we sort of got that from Ahsoka, like, oh, like this woman was like a last remaining person from here. But like the actual magistrate herself,
yeah,
didn't, like,
100%. Yeah, it's
that.
a very one-dimensional villain.
If that makes sense.
Obviously served a purpose. Obviously leads on to what Ahsoka's searching for. And I enjoyed the portrayal.
Where does this episode fit in like your favourite episodes of the season?
Get into it. I probably will do our ranking when we finish reviewing the whole season. But yeah, it was probably my favourite to date. But that obviously got overtaken by later episodes that we'll get into a later date.
Yeah. What was so good about the season. Like, you'd watch one, it would be your favourite, and then like you'd watch the next one, and like it would change. Like, it was like almost like the courses kept coming, and the courses kept getting better. Which is obviously like it's a fantastic thing. I think that brings an end to sort of talking about this episode. How obviously we've just had Christmas.
It's my dog.
There's a lot of noise on the line.
Sorry, mate. I can't.
Right.
No, he's knocking his new ball.
No, that's right. It sounded like a small child almost. All right. So obviously we just had Christmas.
From the just the new book
Star
from
Wars
a certain point of view, The Empire Strikes Back, which I'm making my way through now. Say that again, mate.
And how good are those stories?
Yeah, there's a few so far that I've
how
really
good
loved.
are those new stories?
Torrin Thar, which is the Ion Controller, Echo Base, that's a good one. The General Veers one's really good. I'm just making my way through Wedge Antilles' story now, so yeah, I couldn't recommend it high enough. There's some weird ones. You get like a story from the Wampas perspective. It's very like you. Did you read from a certain point of view A New Hope? Yeah, it's very like that. You get like the weird ones with like the Dianoga story and all that type of thing. But no, I couldn't recommend it high enough. Obviously, I'm only about 13 stories in. I've got a lot more to go. I'm trying to get that read now before like the Jedi comes out next week. So I'm just trying to get ahead of it now.
Yeah, so I got an Amazon gift card, so I pre-ordered like The Jedi by Charles Soule, which is the first book in Star Wars The High Republic publishing initiative, so I'm excited to get that. I also got the Star Wars Archives, episodes 4 to 6, 1977 to 1983. That is by Paul Duncan and published by Taschen. So I'm excited to dive into that. I've not even opened it yet, but it looks like it's going to have like a lot of like information about like these years of the development of the stories and the release of the stories of the original trilogy. And I do believe that the second book's being put up for pre-order now, and it's like episodes 1 to 3, and obviously the years will be 1999 and 2005, I'd imagine. So I love this one. I might even go and get that one. I got the Mandalorian Monopoly Seat game, which is a beautiful set. It's all like carbon freeze. all style like carbon freeze. All the packaging inside's like carbon freeze. You get credit chips instead of cash. Fantastic. The little character pieces that are there are like fantastically molded. The only problem is that on Christmas Day when I opened it, I was looking at all the design features, like loving it, and my fiance Louise was like, "Oh, on the back of the box is all written in Star Wars language, Pete." And I was like, "Oh, like Arabesh." Was like, "I don't know what that is, but like Star Wars language." And I turned the box over, and it was actually in Italian. And it turns out the whole game is the Italian version of Mandalorian, with no English instructions at all. So, but I've still got it. It looks brilliant. So, I don't think I'm going to send it back. I think I'll either keep it as a piece, or
learn Italian.
I might have to get like a Google Translate on the go on the play. Yeah, definitely. And I also got the lightsaber book, the guide to lightsabers, which I've had a quick flick through. A lot of like stuff we already know, like the prequel trilogy lightsabers, the original trilogy lightsabers. But I've also noticed a couple of bits in there about like some High Republic stuff sprinkled in, not loads, but sprinkled in. So I'm excited to get to grips with that. And I think obviously,
I'll have to pick that up. Might
do a review of that book on a future episode of the podcast. Yeah, definitely. And then obviously, my sister got me so it's a Poe Dameron #1 variant cover comic framed. So I don't know how much those are worth, but probably not worth huge amounts. But like, it's a #1. It's a variant. It's framed. The art's fantastic. So like a very, very thoughtful gift there, and I love it. So I did quite well on the Star Wars front.
Yeah.
Even though I'm 31, so that was fun. I'll tell you what I have read. I bought it just before Christmas. I got Star Wars Comic Volume 1, The Destiny Path, which is by Charles Soule. So this was obviously obviously the first 2015 starting the comics run after A New Hope, and then shut down, and then it's restarted again now after Empire Strikes Back, which is cool. And this is like the first six issues of that new run, which I read and loved it. It teases a bit about Luke's lightsaber and where it goes. We get to see Lando, we get to see Cloud City. It's very, very fascinating. Don't want to go into too much detail, but I think if you love Empire Strikes Back and you love Return of the Jedi and that time period where we haven't got a lot of stories, I think definitely pick up that Star Wars run that's running now. And obviously Charles Soule, who's wrote so much good Star Wars lately, he's writing it, so
100%,
I definitely recommend it.
Vader one as well. The Vader one's sick as well.
So that's next on my eye. I'm going to pick that up, the Volume 1 of Vader.
Yeah, straight after. No,
so where does that pick up after
as
Empire Strikes Back as well?
Goes into hyperspace at the end. Done. Starts there. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I see that now. That's got me. I'm going to go and buy that now, I think. Because I've got some money left on that Amazon gift card. So
I've got the both. I've got all the trade paperbacks of Kieran Gillen's and Charles Soule's Vader runs as well. He's my favourite character, so anytime they do a new Vader series, I'll be excited. Yeah, Charles Soule.
Well, I love that second one. I've read them both and I love them both. But that Vader run where it was set after the events of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Where it was like as the mask goes on, it starts. I thought that run was fantastic. That's obviously the Jocasta run that I mentioned earlier.
That type of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It was really, really cool. A lot of good stuff. Obviously, a lot of new comics coming this year. It's going to be a fun time for Star Wars fans reading. I think we've got I said High Republic starting in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be across books and comics. I said we've got this Empire Strikes Back, post Empire Strikes Back comic run happening in both Star Wars and Vader comics, which is great. Obviously, there's Mandalorian books coming later on in the year, I believe, as well, tying the Mandalorian series. So I think there's a lot of, and this is just we know about. There'll be stuff on as well.
Novel, and you've got the second Thrawn novel as well.
Yeah, so just like a fantastic time for reading, as well as obviously we're going to get the Bad Batch season as well coming this year before the Book of Boba Fett at the end of the year. So we've got like two series to look forward to, and then all these books to look forward to. So it's going to be an action-packed year. Definitely. Well, Ian, I think that brings us to the end
I
of the
am on social
episode.
media on
Where
Twitter
can
and
people
Instagram
find you on
at
social
Star
media?
Wars Ian, all lowercase.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Ian. Thank you.
Please follow us on Twitter at BoresStar. That's at BORESSTAR. And on Instagram and Facebook at Star Wars Podcast. You can also reach us on email at starwarspodcast@gmail.com. The Star Wars Show can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and wherever podcasts can be found. Please give us a like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a 5-star review. May the Force be with you.